Is there a place for humor in a business presentation? In most cases, the answer is yes. In fact, humor can really elevate your presentation. But there is a catch: it has to be done correctly. And in this presentation, I will share with you one approach that can work really well. This is Show Stopping Speakers with me, Mobeen Tahir. Here I share with you stories and practical tips for becoming a memorable public speaker. So I'm with two of my colleagues at a conference and I'm presenting in a series of roundtables. So the idea is that we are joined by different groups and we are delivering the same presentation 7 times. Now, 6 presentations have already happened. And in the first 6 presentations, I've shared a joke. I've made a comment on one of the slides, and that comment has been received well. I've got some giggles, some smiles, a reasonable level of engagement that I was expecting based on the joke that I shared. On the 7th occasion, I make the same joke. What do I get? Blank stares. Blank stares from every single participant in the group except the 2 colleagues who know that I'm making a joke. They're just being polite and they laugh and they giggle. They're already exhausted and they have already heard the joke 6 times before, but they're polite. Everyone else, not so much. Now, of course, what an embarrassing moment. But I learn a very powerful lesson. And the lesson is not that the joke didn't work on the 7th occasion. So, what did I do wrong on the 7th occasion? The lesson is even the 6 occasions that the joke worked very well, I made the same mistake. And the mistake was that the joke was a forced joke. It was a one-liner which was meant to say that, hey, look, I'm smart. I've made this joke. Laugh along with me. And that was the mistake. Yes, it worked on 6 occasions, but upon reflection, it maybe shouldn't even have worked on those 6 occasions. So, what I do recommend, and an approach that works much better than a forced joke, is to share a story. The best way to be humorous in a business presentation is to share a story, ideally, a personal story. When you share a story, instead of delivering a forced joke says, hey, look, I'm funny. Whereas a story reveals the humor in a situation. So it's not about you anymore. You take the audience on a journey and you show them something humorous. Carmine Gallo, who wrote Talk Like Ted, he uses this expression, reveal the humor in a situation. That's much better than trying to be humorous with a forced joke. And I've seen the people that I coach, when they share personal stories, even though I've not told them to be humorous, that's not what we are working on. When we're working on sharing personal stories, I just tell them to share a personal story in the present tense and then link it to the business presentation. And of course, if you haven't listened to my podcast on sharing personal stories, I invite you to check it out. But when the people I coach share something personal and they share a story, the humor automatically comes. Even though they're not trying to be humorous, there is humor in the situation that they are sharing. And that becomes very powerful. The energy in the room shifts and people enjoy the presentation. So share a personal story, share it in present tense. Don't reveal what's going to happen. Take the audience on a journey. If there is a humorous situation in that story, reveal it, and the audience will laugh with you. That's a much better technique than trying a forced joke. If you share a story, you also achieve 2 things. Now, of course, stories are powerful, and you get the audience engaged and you get them invested in your message. And when you connect your story to your business message, that's very powerful. That's very powerful. Of course, if there is humor in that situation, even more, because if they laugh along with you, you've already won them over. And second, even if they don't laugh, the story in itself is powerful. It's there for a reason, because you are going to link the lesson that you've learned from the story to the message that you want to convey in your presentation. And that in itself is very powerful. So even if you don't necessarily get the laughs, you won't be embarrassed, because the story is still serving a very important purpose. Whereas if you throw in a forced joke and you don't get the laughs, then of course you will feel very embarrassed, and of course that becomes a very awkward situation for you to manage. So yes, I know it can be intimidating to attempt humor in a business presentation, but I assure you the bar is low. In conferences and business settings, it's so rare for someone to share a humorous story that when it's done, it's so fresh. It's something that people really welcome, because it changes the mood and the energy in the room, and people love it. So try it, try it. But of course, try a humorous story, because that will give you much stronger chances of getting some laughs and getting some engagement, rather than a forced joke. And even once in a while, if you get some blank stares, it's fine. Trying these things and trying your humor, whatever comes naturally to you, and of course your own personal stories, real stories, this will pay dividends in the long run. Thank you for tuning into Show Stopping Speakers with me, Mobeen Tahir. If you found this useful, of course, please do share it with someone else, and stay tuned for more practical tips and stories on public speaking and becoming a memorable presenter. And I will see you next time.